Okay.
Wait, there's
Sorry.
something that appeared on the screen.
Yeah.
Got distracted.
They're recording. They're recording.
Okay. It's just a
So
notification.
who made the first move?
I don't think it was so straightforward.
Ah,
We were friends for quite some time, and I think that things generally progress. I'm not exactly sure what exactly. Yeah, maybe you should ask her.
oh, okay. Maybe you know what? Based on my experience, the women remember these things better.
Yeah, I think you see, we always say that the guys are the ones who make the first move, right? But the truth is, the guys are constantly looking at the girls
Mm.
and looking for essentially, I guess we could call it an invitation,
Mm.
right?
Yes.
There's no way a guy is going to approach a girl if the invitation is not there. The invitation doesn't have to be verbal, it's mostly non-verbal, but you basically are looking out for it. And I suppose, I mean, based on statistics, that's probably what happened. Because most of the time, this is what happens.
Right. Never mind. I'll take you up on that and we'll have a conversation without Jasmine. Because I tell my children and say, oh, hey, you know who made the first move? I say, of course, your mom, lah, you know. So, of course, that's not true. But I agree, Remus. I don't know. Was there an invitation? So, okay. So, it just progressed. We were friends, and then it just progressed in the friendship, and then you got married. I know some young people, okay, because I think you're not much older than my eldest daughter, and so she and her friends or rather her friends getting married and all that. So I meant to ask this proposal thing. Was there expectations by Jasmine on this, how a proposal should be like?
I think, um, I think there definitely were some expectations.
Mm.
It'd be a lie lah to say that there's no expectations. Um, but I think it really depends on the relationship itself, like what the relationship is built on.
Yes.
So if like for me and Remus, when we got together, I was quite clear that our relationship had very good communication.
Mm.
So and we enjoyed spending time together.
Oh, that's nice.
So I think when it came to around the time where like we're talking about marriage and all that, I think I I was hoping to get proposed to soon, but then it didn't happen. And then I had like this huge talk with him about like, oh, I thought we're supposed to be like heading there soon, but how come it's not happening and blah blah blah. And then I don't know if it caught him by surprise lah. Like instead of surprising me, I surprised him. So in the end, we said that okay, like we just put it off for a while more lah. So I was okay, and like I said, our communication has always been quite good. So after that whole big talk, I just kind of okay, let's just go on with life. So I planned like this big holiday for myself, or I went to Italy with a friend, and guess what? The 2 nights before I left for Italy, he proposed.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, I just budgeted like this huge holiday, right? And
Mm.
then he proposed, and then now we need to budget for our wedding. It's like, okay.
So I want to ask Remus, is that your idea of a surprise?
I think the thing here is that for most people, we wait for a very long time, and a lot of the time it's just not too long before you lose patience. Not long after you lose patience, that's when the thing actually happens. So actually the thing was already being planned. It's just that obviously she didn't know. But then I suppose in the earlier parts, certain things were not in place, like just I don't know how to explain this, but if things are not in place, they are not in place, right? And if the
Yeah.
things are not in place, you don't go ahead. So the certain things were not in place, and therefore it didn't happen earlier. So it did take time, but through my experience, I know that once you lose patience, actually the thing is about to happen most of the time. And you will see this in your life all the time. I see this in my life all the time. Every time I lose patience, the thing happens like the next day, or a few 2 hours later. And so I've learned to listen to that and to know that the moment I lose patience, that's typically about the time that something is about to happen. Yeah,
And the little that I know about you, Remus, is that you're a cool, chill guy and very strategic. So I guess all the planning might have gone in your head, right? So that's where the communications might be important for your girlfriend to know what's going on in your head. So
yeah, but if you're planning a surprise, you don't
that's true.
don't
You don't
tell
talk about
the person about the surprise, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, so there's no point talking about it. By the time that she brought the thing up, right? Of course there is the temptation to just reveal that.
Yeah.
But then I decided, you know what? There's no point revealing it. It will spoil everything.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yes. Jasmine, you want to say something? You're muted.
This is the first time that I'm hearing this.
Oh, really? Oh my goodness. I'm putting up something. Okay,
No,
you
no,
all talk about this later.
I've always known, right, that he believes that things always happen at the right time. Things will just fall into place and it will happen. But then this is the first time that I'm hearing that, oh, when we had that huge talk, he already planned it.
Okay. Wow, discovery. So and so we talk about communications, we talk about expectations and planning in the head. Were there surprises when both of you got married? I imagine, especially for the first few months, surprises. I mean, did you all know each other so well that there weren't any big surprises when you all got married and got your own place? Who wants to say something?
I don't know what counts as a surprise per se. I mean, if you've never lived with a person before, you definitely realize that certain habits, certain things that they think are important, you've never even thought about it before. But are they surprising? I suppose not, because going into something like this that the other person is not going to be exactly like you. So it's just a difference. I wouldn't call it surprising, I think.
Okay.
And I think because we have always communicated very openly and very clearly about expectations, things that we do, things that we don't like, and things like that. Because of that, I feel that I suppose surprises are minimal, if there were even surprises at all. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't surprise that much, but maybe she does. Maybe she's in a better position to tell you. Yeah, anyway, in case you're wondering, we are just beside each other. We just decided to use our own laptop. Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay, so we can. Okay, so now we talk about what we are thinking about, and then we're talking about. I want to talk a little bit about socializing. So maybe from yourself, being introverts, what do you think about generally, or from your personal experience or your observations with friends? Do introverts socialize differently, and how differently? Because I know society has an impression, that we hardly socialize. So I'm sure we got some things to say there. Because before we talk about boy-girl relationship, there is this socializing, right? We mix around with the guy friends, and then we mix around in a mixed group before we start making, approaching the girl that we'd like to go on a date out, for example. Or even the girl giving a signal that say, hey, it's okay, you can ask me out, So how do they socialize differently?
I suppose for introverts, a lot of us just look for cues, social cues, before we do anything. I think that we don't jump into a conversation straight away.
Mm-hmm.
So I suppose that's why a lot of people think that, introverts are very quiet, they don't talk a lot, they don't contribute a lot to conversations. But the point is that I feel that a lot of us just speak when necessary. We don't speak about, we don't talk about things that we feel that, that's it's not necessary to talk about. So yes, I think we do. I maybe it's the definition of socializing that we need to look at. Like what defines socializing? What do you consider socializing? And I guess different people have different versions of it. Perhaps we just have our own. And I don't really think it's so much an introvert extrovert thing. I also think that it depends on the individual, because there are very confident introverts just as there are very shy extroverts.
Yes.
So I don't really think it's really to do with the personality exactly. It's the skill, because socializing is a skill, right?
Agree.
And the skill needs to be trained up. So the more training or the more practice you've had with the skill, you definitely become much better at it.
I agree. Any thoughts on that, Jasmine, about socializing?
Maybe I can just share about what happened with us on that taxi. So even after that first taxi ride together, we had a few more subsequent rides together. And I think that one-on-one time actually built the friendship, because is I think for introverts we really function function well on one-on-one. And so having that one-on-one time in a taxi as we rode from Bukit Gombak all the way back to the east, gave us like an hour each time to just talk and know each other better. So when you talked about who made the first move, right? It wasn't on the taxi. We had already left the company by then.
Okay.
But what happened was that he did indicate his interest lah. And then I wasn't too keen at the start, so we actually stopped talking for about 4 months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we kind of lost contact for 4 months. And then he was participating in a church musical. And before we lost contact for the 4 months, he had already invited me to that church musical. And church musicals for Christmas is held in December. So, but I remembered his invitation lah. So I went, and so happened the youth pastor at that time, he saw me, and he knew me already by that time. So he mentioned it to Remus, and actually that was how we got reconnected again. And then we continued to like talk, and then from then on that's how we got together. So I think like for us, I think like what Remus said about socializing, the definition of socializing, we need to look at, it's not always going out to a huge party or going out to a huge gathering to socialize. Sometimes like socializing means you spend time with intentionally with one person to build that friendship, to build that relationship.
Sure. So I asked this because I don't go back too far back on mine. It's too long ago. But I've seen, if I'm so introverted, or if I'm introverted and shy, and then how am I going to be given a chance to show this girl I like, if we're talking about boy-girl relation, that I'm smart, I have ideas, I have principles, values. If I'm always quiet, unless, let's say we talk about group activity without speaking, and we may have been at youth camp before. And so maybe the girl is impressed, oh, this guy is quite helpful, he helps out in logistics, he put things together, he set up the campfire, and just likes him that way. So if I'm saying that if they don't communicate in terms of verbal communication, then we are just watching them in action, isn't it? So I want to see what, that's what I meant by the social setting. If we don't put ourselves out there in social, whether it's a small group of close friends, maybe just 5 to 8 of you in someone's house or gathering, maybe not big parties. I didn't like parties as well, you know. So how do we put ourselves in social settings so that the opportunity is given? You know what I mean? Like create the opportunities.
Yeah, go.
I don't really actually attend, and I'm not sure, like events.
No,
I mean, I guess for us, because we met at a workplace, so automatically there's already a certain amount of interaction. So, but of course, I mean, we have to be professional. There's no such thing as no romance in the workplace. Or there's a more vulgar term for it, but I shall not use it.
Okay.
we only left the.
Yeah. Correct. So that's the point. I mean, that's my point, right? The point is that because we met at a workplace, there was already a set amount of interaction. But I would say that it was quite important to us as well that we did not pursue this while we were at the workplace because it's not professional. And I suppose events, right now, events are a bit problematic because we can't really meet face to face in large groups. But prior to this, we did attend a number of events, like, I mean, INA definitely, some networking sessions here and there. And of course, you know, the good thing about it is you don't actually have to talk. You can just see how the other person interacts with other people, because how a person interacts with other people, generally that it's a reflection of who they are. So for introverts, perhaps if they are not comfortable with talking about themselves, it might be simply easier to show. Right, it could be through action, like what you suggested. You know, this person is very helpful. He helps to carry things, move things around. Or it could just be, you know, if they happen to be artistically inclined, it could be reflected through their art.
Sure.
So there are many ways, I think, to show who you are. It doesn't have to be verbal. And I suspect that for us, it's more important. The non-verbal stuff is actually more important than the verbal stuff, because we probably notice the behavior of the other person, and based on that, we kind of decide in our heads, is this someone, you know, worth having a relationship with? Doesn't have to be a BGI, could just be a business relationship, could be a friendship, could be a lot of things. I think the behavior of a person is, well, at least to me, far more important than what the person says.
Yes. Would you agree then that introverts are generally more observant?
I think we spend more time observing, and that's why we become more observant. I don't think it's a basic introvert. Yeah, it's simply a cause and effect. Because we spend time observing, we become better at it. And because we are better at it, we then spend more time at it. And so, you know, it's a virtuous cycle.
Right. Okay. So I want to talk about the talents that both of you have, which I followed a little bit more Remus, because I got to know Remus first. And both of you are talented writers. I like the way you write. And both of you are published authors. So I want to talk to Jasmine first. You, if I recall, I remember, I think meeting Remus first, and then you came to one gathering and Remus invited you. I think it was an evening dinner or something like that, right? And I think so.
Actually, I was the one who introduced him to INA.
Oh, okay. But yeah, you sent him
yeah.
out first into the danger zone.
I found out about Introverts Network Asia because you guys were celebrating your birthday and you all were launching the book.
Okay.
Introverts, because I'm introvert, I triumph book. Yeah, so I found that event online on Facebook actually through Sam Chu's Facebook group.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
his Facebook group was marketing for introverts.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
because I found that, and then I told him about it, and then we thought, okay, let's just go and attend and see what it's about.
Right.
So obviously, like I'm a lot more like extroverted than he is lah. So I will like
Yeah.
all these events to go to, right?
Mm.
Oh yeah, okay. So this is the book.
Okay. Hey, thanks
Time.
for that. I want to talk about your books, not that one, but thanks for sharing that. No, what I meant was, I remember you were already writing or editing for a magazine, wasn't it? Before,
Yes.
yeah, I think that's where I got to know Remus and you. So before you wrote the book, you're already doing some writing for magazine. A
Yeah. So I
magazine.
was
Yeah.
working in uh, a few different publishing firms, writing for magazines. And so one of these is this magazine,
Mm,
Square Rooms,
mm,
and Lookbox Living.
mm,
Yeah, so these were all interior magazines that I was writing for
yeah.
when we first got to know you.
Yeah. And this one is through different publishers or one agency connecting you with the different publications.
So I was when I met you, I was with Lookbox Living.
Oh, okay, can.
Yeah,
So I think your book came out after Remus, right? But since
yes,
we're chatting with you, so your book is My Unique Child. Is a practical guidebook for parents, caregivers,
yeah.
educators of children. I want to confess that I only read a little bit because I gave it to my daughter. So it's only on the
Oh,
way back that I got to read. And yeah, maybe you want to talk to us about that, how that book came about, My Unique Child.
oh, okay. Is your daughter interested in special needs?
She's working with special needs children in
Oh,
school. Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
cool.
It's okay. It's about
So,
you today.
so this is the book.
Yes.
So this is the book,
Yeah.
and it started because I was serving in an autism ministry in church about 11 years ago.
Mm,
So after a few years of serving there, I think I started to realize the reality of having a child, an autistic child in Singapore,
mm,
the amount of support or lack of support,
mm,
um, and the day-to-day, difficulties that they face, even when they want to go out, the kind of judgment that they get
mm,
out in the
mm,
streets.
mm,
So I think I started to really feel for this community, and that's when in 2014,
mm,
while I was still with the publishing companies writing for the magazines, I started to get this idea of writing a book for the autism community.
mm,
And specifically, I wanted to write for the parents because the parents and caregivers are the ones who I think really bear the burden
mm,
of raising the child.
mm,
So that was how the idea of the book came about.
mm,
And this was then published in 2018, 2 years ago.
mm. How long do you take to put this together?
So yeah, interviews and all that took about a year and a half.
Mm,
And then another year for actually writing and doing all the research and reading up different books and things like that. And
yeah.
then another year was kind of lost because we got married.
Mm,
And yeah, so that's also why the book took like 4 years to be ready, because
mm,
in the middle we got married, and
right.
so there was an entire year that I didn't work on it. And in the end, so if you really look at the book itself, it's about 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're still doing this work with these children, isn't it? You're still
Yes. Yes. So
writing.
actually initially I was, besides in church, I was also volunteering at different schools. So like Rainbow Center, Eden, and St. Andrew's Autism School. So I was also volunteering there. But right now, is I'm only active in the church ministry.
Okay, thanks. Remus, let me bring you on. I got to know you, I think, definitely before I met Jasmine. And I might have confessed to you that I was stalking you because I think you were in the Introverts group. And then I don't know whether on Facebook or in the group you mentioned about the Introvert Teacher. And
Mm.
if this uncle can remember, maybe you can't. I think I asked you out for coffee because I wanted to know how that book came about, wasn't it? Tell us about. I think you took some time on research, because I know that it's a very well written book, well researched. Talk to us about putting that together for the book.
Well, I mean, the reason that I wrote the book to begin with was because when I first started, my first, really, was it really the first? Okay, it was after after I finished my army, I had a diploma in biotech, because biotech was a hot thing then, right? It was being pushed, and everyone was saying, oh, Singapore's fourth pillar of industry is going to be biotechnology and so on. And so it was very pushed very, very hard. And Temasek Poly was one of the, well, I guess you could say they have a new biotech course, and that's the one that I got into. And so I came out with this diploma in biotech, and the question, of course, was, should I study further, go to university, or should I just start working? And then I figured that, I don't really want to go to university because I don't even know what I want to study, right? So I decided if I ever go to university, which I haven't since then, but if I were to go to university, it has to be something that I want, and I have to pay my own way through, because my parents already paid for my poly, right? And it's not a small sum of money. So I decided that I didn't want to be a further financial burden on them. And therefore I decided to go to work. But of course, the question then is, with a diploma in biotech, what in the world are you going to do? If you want to do research, you want to work in a lab, you have to have a master's, at least a degree actually. But even with a degree, you are just, to put it, people in the biotech industry know what I'm talking about. You are just a glorified test tube washer.
Ooh,
you are just there to wash the test tubes and support the PhD or the masters to do their research. You are not actually doing the research yourself. So that's the unglamorous side of it. And I've also figured that although I'm an introvert, now I know, I didn't really like working in a lab, because it was very tedious. You're just doing the same thing every day over and over and over again. Half the time the machine is doing the work, you're not doing anything. You're just setting the machine up, and then you just sit there for 2 hours waiting for the machine to spit out the results, and then you read the results, and then you analyze the results, and then you write a very, very long, boring report about the results. So I didn't want to work in a lab, but I didn't know what I wanted to work in. So I went to a jobs portal, look for relevant work, and suddenly there was this particular thing that said they wanted life science biotech trainers. So I figured, I don't know what it's about, but let's just figure out. Let's just go apply to the company. And so I applied to the company, got the interview, successfully got through the interview, and that was my first job. The first, I would say, proper job, full-time proper job. And I was with them for 4 years. And then after that 4 years, I joined the tuition company where I met Jasmine. There was a little bit of time in between there. But anyway, my point was, the first 4 years, the first year, in fact, of teaching, I had colleagues who were obviously extroverts. And after lessons, right, they want to talk. They want to, basically go have lunch together and talk about very random things. And actually, the truth is, I was really very tired, because you already spent 4 hours teaching. You just need a break, right? But then these guys just want to talk. So, sometimes I will join them, but half of the time I will just do my own thing, right? And I thought that there was something wrong with me. I thought that I'm not cut out to be a teacher. I thought teachers were supposed to be like that, supposed to be full of energies, supposed to be on the ball all the time, on all the time, so to speak. But I wasn't like that. And so I thought, maybe teaching's not the thing that I'm supposed to do. But then after some time, I realized that, there were other teachers, there were senior teachers in the school, older teachers, and you could see that they were having lunch on their own, they were sitting on their own. Every now and then they'll have lunch with one other person, but they usually are not in large groups. right? And I realized that, oh, actually, these people seem to be like me. And then I realized much later, I did all the personality tests, research, and so on. And then I realized that, oh, okay, actually, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm just an introvert. And I just had a very wrong idea of what a teacher was supposed to be like. And that's why I wrote the book, because I felt that we should not think of teaching as an extrovert activity, because a lot of teaching requires the research, requires the learning, requires the planning. And actually introverts are very good at all those things. And I have now that I've been teaching for about 14 years, almost 15, I found that a lot of teachers I meet in school are actually introverts. They're not extroverts at all. So yes, of course, you do have the extrovert few, but I perhaps it's just my bias, but the vast majority of the teachers that I speak to turn out to be introverts. You can tell the way they speak, the way they do things, the way they explain things to you. You know that they put a lot of thought into it. Not that extroverts don't put thought into what they say, but you can tell by the way they tell you that they almost definitely are introverts. And so that's why I wrote the book. And the book is not just for introverts, of course. It's for educators, trainers, teachers, and the like. And so, yeah, the book looks like this. I don't know why my camera's laterally inverted.
It looks okay to me.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then maybe it's just laterally inverted on my end.
On your screen, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll put it up. We'll put you have a website, right? We'll put it in the chat. And
Yeah,
then,
yes.
Thanks very much.
So for Remus's book,
Yes.
we actually created a discount code that for everyone who's watching this. If you go to my website, the shop on my website, which is ouruniquestories.com/shop, and you look for Remus's book, The Introvert Teacher, and when you check out with the discount code INA 18 off, INA short for Introverts Network Asia. So I'll repeat, INA 18 off, OFF, you get $18 off the price of the book. So that's on my website, ouruniquestories.com. I think, yeah, y'all will put it up on Facebook.
Yes, we'll share that on Facebook later. Thanks for the offer, Jasmine and Remus. I can't, maybe you want to talk a little bit about the job part, because you made me remember when I was in an organization. It was a non-profit organization. I was in World Vision for about 4.5 years. And that's the strange thing. I was in the communications team. Yet when they asked us for lunch, I say, go ahead, you just tap out back for me. So that was the part that I so wonder, why am I different, from the rest? It's like, I'm in the communications team, and I go out and speak to people, 1,000 students, for example, 800, and then 300 adults. And then when it comes to lunchtime, I say, no, you guys go ahead. And, I can eat chicken rice 3 or 4 times a week, because I like chicken rice, but I want to make it easy on them, don't say, oh, go and queue up for. So I say, chicken rice can, and so I realized that, the discovery of my introversion. So yeah, that's why this topic interests me. So you all can get a copy of Remus's book, and you can get a special offer using that discount code. So what about this job thing? Maybe I ask Jasmine, just as we must share a little bit. When you work with other people, not the socializing part, how does an introvert relate at work? Just briefly, I didn't think of talking about that, but do introverts have challenges in the workplace where everyone's loud and outgoing, and how do we show ourselves? Maybe from your observation in the corporate place. Yeah.
I think corporate for working wise, I would say it's not that much different from socializing in a social situation. I mean, because it's still people, right? After all, it's just that you need to be a bit more professional and not talk about certain topics. So for me, when I first started working, I still hadn't realized I was quite introverted. I still thought I was extroverted. And it was only after I met him that I realized that I actually had quite a number of introvert traits. So when I still thought I was extroverted, uh, I I just I just constantly like said yes to all sorts of gatherings and meetups and things like that. And every day of the week, I had something on. I was meeting people. I was going to something and things like that. And I think it was only after I was so exhausted, and yet I still wanted to go out and meet people. That that's why I never thought that I was introverted, because I do really enjoy going out to gatherings and just meeting new people. Um, but it was only after I realized I was introvert that I started to give more time to myself to recharge. So I think that recharging is important, because then it gives me the energy to fully invest, to fully be present in the gatherings that I go to and not be grumpy. Because I have noticed that I used to be grumpy at certain gatherings that I go to. I will be tired, but I still want to be there, but I'll end up being grumpy. And that affected me. That was negative, like in a way, because you want to meet people, but when you're grumpy, no one's going to talk to you. So, uh,
I'm so amused by that, Jasmine. I'm surprised. I thought I was the grumpy old man here.
yeah. If you talk to my friends who knew me before, when I was still in my teens, yeah, they will tell you that I was like grumpy and irritable most of the time. So I think it was only after I uh, embraced this introversion and set aside time for myself to recharge, that I started going to gatherings with more energy, with a more positive attitude to actually meet people.
Remus is a little bit different, right? Because Remus, if you can help it, you will be even more selective on groups events, for example.
I suppose it's a bit different for me. I mean, we always say that introversion and extroversion is on a spectrum, right? You're one end or the not. You're not really at one end or the other. You're somewhere in the middle. And I just think that on that spectrum, I'm a lot further down the introvert side of things than the extrovert side of things. I just find socializing very, very tiring. Um, I I suppose with practice, I've gotten better at it. But I know that actually, if you go to my website, shameless plug. I actually wrote my so to speak childhood story there under the story part there. So I struggled a lot with social interactions when I was much younger, to the point where I basically had no friends. Make acquaintances, I guess, at most. It's not like I was, they were hostile or what. It's just that I didn't know how to connect with them. So, when you are in school and you are with these people all the time, so yeah, you would say, oh, these are my friends. But honestly speaking, I don't know whether I can consider them friends per se. I would still say more acquaintances, because I don't really know them. They don't really know me. And therefore, there's this gap, there's this distance between us. And so if I got into trouble, I suppose I wouldn't go to them, because I just didn't know them that well. And so it took me quite a long time to learn the socializing. In fact, I had to go through a few years of study. Yeah, I know introverts, extroverts will just go out there and try things, right? The introverts want to read the books first, read the articles. Well, okay, last time got fewer articles. So I had to go and buy the books or go to the library. So actually I have one of those books. Wait, let me show you. Give me a sec. It's just behind my laptop. Sorry, this looks very awkward. Yeah, so this is actually one of the books. You can see it's all brown really. So it's very, very old. I actually bought this at some popular sale or something. So the book, I don't know whether you can see it. It's called what is it? The Little Giant Encyclopedia of Etiquette. Etiquette. I literally read at least 6 to 7 books just about etiquette, right? Because I found that this human interaction thing requires a lot of social rules. And these social rules, if you don't know what they are, you are going to have some trouble because nobody actually tells you what they are. They kind of expect you to already know. And that was part of the problem that I had actually. And I didn't know what these rules are because I never bothered. They were just not important to me. But the point is, you do need to interact with people and you do need to know what to say, when to say, how to say, all these things. And so, yeah, so I read books on etiquette. I read books about communication. I read books about how to, I think there was the one by, is it Dale Carnegie? Make friends. Oh my gosh, I can't. What is it? Influence people. Yes, make friends and influence people. Yes, that's all. I read it when I was very much younger, and I read books of emotional intelligence, Daniel Goleman, right? About EQ, and yeah, so I had to learn from all these things, and then what I would do is I will go out there, and then experiment, so to speak, just observe what people are doing, but always one thing at one time. So I won't try to observe 5 different things at the same time. I will try to observe one thing at one time. So if it's about greeting, if it's about greeting somebody, I will only observe greetings. Right? I will look at how people greet each other. When they greet each other, what do they do? Do they nod their head? Do they look at the person in the eyes? Do they all these things are very, very obvious to most people. But you got to remember that for some of us, it's a bit harder. And so I had to learn. So of course now I know what they are. Yes, thank you, Hui Fang. How to win friends and influence people is in the chat. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so some of us we have to learn it. Yes. And because it's not easy to talk about very small nuances. It's actually quite hard to learn. And therefore you have to just go out there and observe. You have to go out there, and then after that you got to try. And then you have to gauge the other person's response. And then you see, did I do something wrong? Did I do something right? What was wrong? What was right? Basically, you are learning it on your own. And that's what I had to do. I did it for years. Yeah. Until I finally figured out, okay, I think I have the basic set of tools to go out there and interact with people. And but since then, I continue to observe, I continue to learn because I know that there's still a lot of things that I'm not very sure about, or things that I just haven't taken the time to observe properly. So yeah, that's why I spend most of my time observing rather than doing, because half the time I don't know what I'm doing, or I don't know whether I'm doing it right. So might as well observe first, then let's figure that out later.
Yep. I can definitely relate to most of the things you mentioned, Remus. And one book that I referred to when I had to lead others was John Maxwell's book, People Person. And I kept reading and reading until I was quite good at it. After 2 years, I gave it away, Wow. And I gave it away. It was just a little pocket book. And within that, he covered the acronym charisma. And so I really, like you, had to read about this, because I not just to network, but I had to teach people how to network. What's that, So I can understand this nature and nurture thing, which you talk about learning. So that's why Quiet Impact is actually to understand introversion, embrace introversion, then we adapt in our workplace or community as introverts. We're going to finish soon. But I want to ask Jasmine, I forgot that we talk about reading and writing. I remember you ran some workshops on writing, right? Did you ran a few?
Yes, that's right. So I ran a few workshops on journaling for
journaling.
mental wellness.
Oh, okay. Very specific for mental wellness.
That's correct. So it's not about how to write, like it's
Oh.
not the technical aspects of writing,
Mm.
but more for mental wellness, your overall, how you're feeling, then
Mm.
how to get started on putting your feelings down on paper.
Mm. So I have two questions before we go. With regards to your experience in INA, what do you think of INA? I mean, y'all are regular, I guess, maybe not as active as others. Maybe in the WhatsApp group, you may be more observers. What do you think of INA as a community of or for introverts? Both of you can share or what you observe or your experience.
I'll go first. So I think when I first attended the very first INA event, which was the one that I spoke about just now, uh, it looked like a really close. It was a tight knitted group community, and I think I felt very comfortable because you, Mervyn, actually came over to where we were sitting and you personally welcomed us to the event. So Remus and I, when we first stepped into the venue, we actually kept to ourselves and just like sat in one corner and didn't talk to anybody. But Mervyn actually came over to us. I don't know how he spotted us, but he came over to us and he talked to us and introduced himself, and he was very gentle and quiet about it, and that made me feel very welcome. So that was, I think, in 2016, I think. And then after that we joined the online community, and we attended more events, and each event was always less than 20 people. So that was a very comfortable size where you don't feel overwhelmed by the sheer like volume of the people at other events. So I think overall, I've always been very comfortable attending events at INA, and the topics that are shared are always relevant for introverts.
Thanks for that. Remus, I got two questions for you.
Yeah, okay.
Make the most, because what about you? Maybe a short one, your experience, and then the other one, because you are trainer, a coach for introverts. Maybe give us a tip or two before you go. Is that okay?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, my experience is definitely positive because apart from that incident where you actually approached, it was an art gallery, if I remember correctly, right? Somewhere near Dhoby Ghaut, outside Dhoby Ghaut MRT. And it just felt that the people are willing to wait for you to finish your thought before you speak. And I think that is important because in a lot of networking events you go to where of course there will be a mixture, right? Some people just cannot wait to talk and they just keep talking and talking and talking. It's like, you haven't even finished thinking about what they say and then they're on to the next topic. And I find that in INA events, it's not like that at all. People, we are aware that, we are surrounded, we are talking to introverts, and everyone sort of needs a little bit of time to think. My analogy has always been this: extroverts speak with their heart, right? So the words just come out. But for introverts, the words from the heart have to go to the head first, and then come down to the mouth, and then come out. So there's an extra step, and because of the extra step, I think we need a little bit of time to process, and that is the gap that extroverts find very uncomfortable. And I think that's why they try to fill it with words. I don't think it's their fault. It's just the way they are, because they think, oh no, this person is not talking anymore. Let me help to fill in the silence so that this will not be an awkward situation. I believe that for most of them, this is what they are thinking. They're not talking and talking and talking because they like to talk and talk and talk. They just think that they are helping you because you seem to be stuck. And I suppose this goes on a little bit into the advice or the tip thing. I found that introverts, you can tell who they are because of the gaps between their sentences or their phrases. Extroverts also have the gap, but their gaps are much, much shorter. And because they are so used to that very, very, very short gap, they think that your long gap is too long. So they think that there's something wrong, and that's why they try to fill it in. So yeah, that to my experience is what I have noticed. And so I really appreciate that INA gives you time to think. And
And
and you give other people time to think also. I mean, it's a two-way street, right?
yeah, and so it's not because the extroverts are impatient.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Because I'm introvert and I can be impatient, So
Of course.
yes, thank you very much. I mentioned last week that I'm going to be speaking to this lovely couple, and at the start you can see that they are a loving couple, introverted. Thank you for joining us today. Our next dialogue will be on December the 3rd, where one coach will be interviewing another coach. And so that will be Susan Nair will be speaking to Andrew Parker in our next dialogue. This is something new for me, this topic. I want to thank Remus, Jasmine. Thank you for coming on today. Stick around in Zoom because I think you have your friends and possibly fans who just want to have a chat with you in the meeting room in Zoom. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on Facebook Live. Keep in touch. Let's thank Jasmine and Remus Chong. Thank you very much. Have a good day, everyone.